So, with this mind of bodhicitta, there are two, right? I forgot what are they? Bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. Conventional bodhicitta means bodhicitta. Conventional bodhicitta is also of two types: aspirational bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. Aspirational bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. Aspirational bodhicitta means, as I mentioned, wish to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. It's like your wish to go to Dharamsala. In order to go to Dharamsala, you should have this wish to go to Dharamsala. So that's good enough, but unless you actually go, it's just wish. So the first is called aspirational bodhicitta, where you say, how nice if I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings, but don't do much. Then of course you will not achieve Buddhahood. So engaging bodhicitta. The next is, in accordance with that aspiration, you take the bodhisattva vow, saying that, okay, now I'll practice all the, precepts of a bodhisattva, like the 6 perfections or 10 perfections, and compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta, so on and so forth. You engage, that's more important. The wish to go and actual going. All right? So anyway, to make a long story short, bodhicitta means the wish to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Now in order to, that's the actual content of the text, but in order to successfully practice it, you need to have certain other facilitating factors. For example, the next text now I need to read. The third point of the mind training is transforming adverse circumstances into the path to enlightenment. To be able to practice successfully, you should not be obstructed by any adverse circumstances. There are so many adverse circumstances, especially in today's world. Everybody will say, why you are doing this? A wastage of time. Just earn money, get married. वही तो बोलते हैं ना सब लोग. कितना दिन, how many days you went to attend this talk? What did you get? People ask these kind of questions, So they are worried about only concrete things. Not knowing that this is the real obtainment. Because first you transform your mind, then you are able to do everything. So therefore, now this is transforming adverse circumstances into the path to enlightenment. When the environment and its inhabitants overflow with unwholesomeness, this is so true today. The environment, the world in which live, and people living there, the inhabitants, overflow with unwholesomeness, overflowing with negativities, bad things, It will not take much time if you just take few rounds in the metro and go to some, places. You will see how much people are running and pushing and pulling just to get money. And to get their money, people don't hesitate to tell all kind of lies, deception, exploitation, corruption, all the way. That's called overflowing. It's not saying that you have little bit amount of unwholesomeness. It's overflowing. पब का गटरी क्या बोलता है? पब का गटर भर गया बोलते हैं ना हम लोग. हाँ बोलते हैं ना. ये है, this is true. So under such a situation, when the environment and its inhabitants overflow with unwholesomeness, the only way that you can save yourself is transform adverse circumstances into the path to enlightenment. This is, in other words, this is called transforming challenges into opportunities. This is an amazing practice which is especially needed in today's world. If you are able to do that, then nobody can really harm you. You see, when things are going good, things look okay, everybody seems to be a good practitioner. The taste of the pudding is when the situation is horrible. Then normally you reveal your true color, you see. So the taste is how much you are able to do that at that time. Because dharma is like medicine. You don't need medicine when you are healthy. You need medicine when you are sick or unhealthy. So similarly, dharma, when everything is okay, maybe you don't need. Everything is not okay. We normally say, yes, I'm okay, but actually that okay has a different meaning. But honestly speaking, we are not okay. Death is there, sickness is there, aging is there, in between so many difficulties is there, everything is not okay. So you need to first understand that. Right? Even when we talk about suffering, normally we understand suffering means headache, diarrhea, back pain, being hospitalized, all those things. We know only that level. There is a deeper level of suffering which is called suffering of change. For example, right now you came here with your own, wish, so hopefully you are enjoying. But if I say that, look, this is a very precious opportunity. It's unsure when we are going to die. It's unsure when we are going to get this opportunity. So don't just finish the teaching at 8:30. Let us, do it continuously for until at least 12 midnight or 1 p.m. or something like that. Even if I cross 8:30 little bit, you will start feeling pain. See, this is the mindset. You will immediately start seeing your watch. अरे अभी भी खत्म नहीं कर रहा है मैंने वो 3-wheeler पकड़ना है और मेरा ऊपर वहाँ वेट कर रहा होगा ये. See, but the point that I'm making is not only your reluctance to continue, but your reluctance to continue comes because you have started experiencing suffering now. How long you can see it? Suffering of change. This is very important to understand. For example, if you are newly married, you are over the moon, मेरा wife कितना सुंदर है, my boyfriend कितना handsome है, हाँ ही, कुछ दिन के लिए 4 दिन की चांदनी फिर अंधेरी रात, वो पता नहीं है, राइट है कि नहीं? धीरे धीरे फिर आपको पता चलता है, धीरे धीरे फिर आपको पता चलता है कि things are not as it looked. Not only selecting your wife and friendship, things like that. Even when you order a food in the restaurant, I've seen this many times. You order a food, and then the next person somewhere sitting there orders a food. His order comes, you crane your neck. I should have ordered that one. करते हैं कि नहीं करते? That's what we do. You see. So the point that I'm making is, it is because of this change, uncertainty, that you will not get long-lasting peace or happiness from these things that are changing and uncertain all the time, unless you have the right frame of the mind. So that's why these teachings are so important. First of all, you need to make these teachings relevant in a changing world, relevant in a volatile, fragile world. The easiest example I can think about is, we should become like a great surfer. Great surfer. You go to the sea beach. Recently I was on a holiday and with my family members I was able to go by the side of a sea beach. So if you are a good swimmer or surfer, then that waves and waves coming is no problem, because you will ride on the waves and disappear and come back, you see, because you know how to go with the flow. Those who don't know how to swim, if you venture out, you will die. Right? So similarly, when you know how to handle the change or impermanent, not necessarily bad. Change actually means possibility, flexibility. If there's no change, there's nothing you can do. Because there is a change, if you catch that wave of change, ride on the current of that change, you can become better. Right? So it's really important. Don't think impermanent, oh, very bad, impermanent, oh, changing, very bad. No. First of all, look at the mindset. You don't like change. You want to be there forever. Then why should you go to school? You should just stay in the home if you don't want change. Right? So it is embracing change and discovering the realities, the beneficial things that you can become better, happier all the time. Right? So, anyway, I should not digress too much, there's not much time. So, when the environment and the inhabitants overflow with unwholesomeness, transform advanced circumstance into the path to enlightenment. So, this is almost like a summary statement in the beginning, and he will explain more later on. When the environment and its inhabitants overflow with unwholesomeness means, look at the environment. Just take the example of the environment of Delhi. Air is polluted, water is polluted, there's rubbish, flying everywhere. Overflowing, hai? Even if there is a little bit of 1 hour rain, all the drainages are blocked. Am I exaggerating, or this is there? You see, that's what the master is saying. If you look at the external, world, environment, it's like that. Then, if you look at the inhabitants, the sentient beings, the main thing that comes in their mind is negative emotion. The main thing that they do is negative activities. So long as money is forthcoming, some material benefits are coming, they don't hesitate to bully others, to exploit others, bribe from, engage in bribery, right? Because of this, those spirits on the negative side, there are positive spirits, negative sides, negative spirits also. So when the environment is polluted, everything is polluted, your way of thinking is a negative, then those on the negative side, they say, hooray, we are winning. Then COVID-19. Easiest example, you see. COVID-19 is more or less a result of our misadventure with animals. It is stated that almost like 60% of the problems that we get in different viruses primarily come from our mistreating with animals. This is the result, you see. So I'm not just, this text is a हिंदी में बोलता है नहीं हवा में बात नहीं कर रहा है. This text is not talking nonsense. So don't say, oh, this is taught like few centuries before. I'm modernized, I'm so clever, why should I listen to this? That's not the case. You are the same human being, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering, but actually you are much, much more difficult than in those days. Because in those days, even if your mind is not so transformed, but the external distraction is much less. And today, you are pulled from all directions. You are not allowed to sit even for one moment. When you want to do a little bit practice, boom, ping, the mobile phone, So many things, so much distraction. So therefore, this is saying, because of this present situation, you need to pay even more attention. And it is said that if you pay more attention, do more practice, then the benefit of that practice is also much better than the practice that you do when everything was good. Right? So when the negative forces multiply, become strong, then they harm those who do spiritual practice, especially those who engage in the Mahayana practice and talk about all sentient beings. They are harmed. They are obstructed. So therefore, the only way to transform these adverse circumstances into spiritual path is training the mind, through which you are able to transform the obstructive factors into facilitating factors. You are able to use the interruptions as facilitating factors. You are able to see the harms or harmers as your spiritual friends. See, if you know how to do, Then sometimes the growth comes because somebody does something wrong to you, somebody challenges you. Then you are compelled to think, oh, now I have to be careful, I need to do this. Right? So if you are able to do such practice, then even under such difficult circumstances, you are able to experience the so-called suffering as pleasure, as happiness. So this is almost like summary statement under this title. Okay? Then he is going to explain a little bit in detail. First is, you should transform those negative situations into the spiritual path by cultivating bodhicitta. Okay? That's the mental state. And then second most important thing is, in terms of your actual practice, you should transform the misfortunes into the spiritual path through two practices. One is accumulating merit, and second is purifying the negative deeds. So in the case of taking the calamities, misfortunes into the path, by depending on the bodhicitta means, the next line says, apply meditation immediately at every opportunity. As far as this practice is concerned, don't wait for an opportunity. Opportunity will never come. You need to seize the opportunity. So therefore it says, apply meditation immediately at every opportunity. Every opportunity means, in terms of time, you may be living in a very happy time, you may have all the facilities. That time also don't forget to practice that. Sometimes human beings are very interesting, beings. When you are successful, then you forget all these practices. Why should I do this? I have myself noticed several, actors, actresses from Hollywood and Bollywood. I've met a number of them. They come to see His Holiness primarily when they have a problem, not when everything is going well. Similarly, I have seen many army generals coming to see His Holiness after they are retired. Right? I'm not exaggerating. So, when things are flourishing, successful, you should recall, this is due to my good past life karma, maybe due to the guidance of my teacher, other things, so I should now, rest here. I use this opportunity because I saw many of you who, I'm happy to say, at a relatively peaceful state. So this is the time for you to use this peaceful opportunity to do spiritual practice. Because, today if you are hearing good news, tomorrow bad news is also waiting. If today you are hearing bad news, don't get dejected, good news is also waiting. Right? So therefore, when you have the opportunity, seize it. That is what he's saying. Seize it. And then also in terms of time, it may be a terrible time where you are suffering from sickness, suffering from poverty. At that time also use this opportunity for practice. Therefore, as I said earlier, that some of the teachers, they say, if I'm going to die tonight, wonderful. No worry. Have no fear. Because I'm not going to live long creating miseries and problems upon myself and others. So if I die tonight or tomorrow, it's wonderful. They're ready. If I'm not going to die tonight, going to live a long, long life, wonderful. Then I'll use this long time for practice, you see. So whatever is there good, use that for, as an occasion for doing your spiritual practice. Then again, in terms of the place of practice, people might say, okay, when I'm in India, especially staying in a Tibetan monastery or sacred place, I will do practice. I'll be able to do practice. But if I move to some foreign countries, America, no need to do Dharma practice. People think like that. That is also wrong. Wherever, whichever country you go, you are still the same human being with the same negative emotions. So whether you are staying in a village or in a monastery, practice. And then also in terms of your friend, it may be human being, it may be non-human being, it may be with whomever you are associating, seize this opportunity to practice. And especially in terms of your practice, try to go with reliable, good friends. Because it's very easy that you will be dragged into the negative state if you meet a wrong friend. Very easy. They will lure you with money and this and that. You will be taken into the wrong direction. So you need to be very careful. And then similarly, physically, mentally, whatever kind of sufferings you are encountering, don't get dejected. Do dharma practice. Right? If you are having some suffering, some problem, then you should think, okay, this may be purification. Right? So that mental attitude is very healing and very good. Right? And then even in happy situations, when you have a lot of food to eat, very nice clothes to wear, and have many friends, don't get just stuck there. Continue to do your dharma practice. Okay? This is important because normally, when people get some needed facilities, they get puffed up, they get arrogant, Even in the case of somebody who has been doing dharma practice or dharma study, or rather, for a long time, sometimes they gain a lot of knowledge, then they get puffed up, thinking that, maybe I know better than the Buddha. This is human mind, you see. If the Buddha, unfortunately, the Buddha is not alive. If he's alive, on this issue, I can debate. Ahankar, arrogance comes, you see. So that should not be there. Because when with the practice of humility, you can grow all kind of positive qualities. With arrogance, you can't. Okay? And then in terms of actual practice, the two practices: one, accumulating merit; two, purifying the negative deeds. Now, in terms of accumulating merit, the next line says the supreme method is accompanied by the four practices. The supreme method of collecting merit is accompanied by the four practices. Four practices means the first practice is collecting merit. That means if you don't want suffering, if you want happiness, then you should make offerings to the higher, gods or lamas or teachers, things like that. And then those who are poor, you should practice generosity, things like that. And with this, you should expect that everybody achieves Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. That's the first practice. The second practice is purifying the negative deeds, purifying the sins. From beginningless time until now, motivated by negative emotions, we have done all kinds of negativities. Primarily two. One is violating the vows that you have accepted, violating those that you had the commitment. For example, that is in the case of a monk, the monk has certain commitments. So if I violate that commitment, I'm doing something wrong. In this case, since you have not taken the commitment, you will not get the benefit, you will also not get the punishment. Then there are second kind of negativity, which we call natural misdeeds. Which whether you have taken a commitment or not taken commitment, if you do that, it is a misdeed, like killing. Right? So you should purify both of these wrongdoings, which is violating the prohibitions or natural misdeeds. Third practice is making some offerings to evil spirits, harmful spirits. Maybe they are around, you don't see, but they may be there around. So Tibetans have a tradition of sometimes, offering some They put a fire, and on that they put some, some eatables. So the smell eaters, Gandharva bolte hai na, they may be around, they are able to eat it. So that way, and similarly there may be some harmful spirits around. They can be pacified if you imagine offering something. Like with food also, these days it's unfortunate to say that millions have nothing to eat, but most of us, whether we go to a restaurant or anywhere, we just eat the half and then throw it. It's a big shame, really. Right? What is the fun of wasting it? You just take a little, then you can take more, order more. Right? So in case, if you are unable to eat something, don't throw it like this. There is a prayer to do. You do the prayer and then you snap your finger. This is really like giving the permission. Because of the karma, the evil spirits around, unless you give the permission, it said they can't eat. They also have certain protocols, you see. Just like I can't eat unless you give it to me. So with this visualization, with this prayer and visualization, you offer it. So that way it will not go waste. Or you pack it nicely, take it and give it to people who have nothing to eat. I normally do that because offering it to the Gandharva and evil spirit is good, but I can't see them, so a little bit difficult. But you can take them and give it to those who are hungry. They feel very, very happy. Right? And then the fourth practice is seeking the protection from Dharma protectors. Just as there are negative spirits, similarly there are positive spirits who actually have reached high spiritual realization. You need to seek their help to protect you, to guide you. Okay? So make some offerings to them. Imagine that you are inviting all these great Dharma protectors and then make the offerings. Fourth point is the integrated practice of single lifetime. Now this you should listen very, very carefully, because while I was teaching, many have asked me this question, Geshe-la, how can we do the practice? How can we do the practice? Actually, I have explained it yesterday also. But this point, the fourth point, talks about how to do an integrated practice of a single lifetime, meaning that how should you do this in your lifetime, and also how should you do it when you are dying. Right? So, in brief, the essence of the instruction is to apply means to practice the 5 powers. The 5 powers. Now listen carefully. The 5 power. The first power is called power of motivation. For any spiritual activities, the most important thing is the motivation. Now here in the case of this mind training section, the motivation is that you should develop this motivation that from today until I achieve enlightenment, or at least until I die, or at least in this year, or at least in this month, or at least today, 24 hours, I will make sure that I will not allow these negative emotions, led by ignorance, arise in me. Contrarily, I will try my best to cultivate the true bodhicittas. That motivation must be there. Motivation is very, very important. So make sure that in terms of your physical, verbal, mental conduct, you are not dragged into the quagmire of negative emotions with the force of self-cherishing attitude and ignorance. That's the first power. The second power is the power of virtuous seed, power of positive seed. Positive seed. Positive seed means you should, if you have not cultivated bodhicitta, cultivate it. If you have cultivated some kind of bodhicitta, strengthen it, enhance it. So in order to do that, the most important thing is engaging in the practice of giving, morality, collecting merit through meditation and so forth. So these are the virtue seeds that you must plant. Third is power of repudiation. In other words, power of rejection or power of abandonment. That means, as we have already explained about the negativeness of ignorance and self-cherishing attitude. So therefore, now you should clearly see the drawbacks of forgetting other people's well-being, and you should be able to clearly see the destructiveness of self-cherishing attitude and ignorance. So therefore, now make an attempt to repudiate or to abandon them, to kick them out. That's the third practice. So there Shantideva makes a big, commitment by saying that it is easy if somebody cuts my head. It is easier if I let myself, beheaded by someone, but I will never ever submit to this enemy of negative emotions. One should have that much decisiveness, commitment. Because to expect happiness with all the negative emotions inside is a joke. Yesterday I used the word sleeping with negative emotions. If you sleep with in the case of a human being, if your horrible enemy is there, can you sleep peacefully? And with negative emotions, can you sleep peacefully? Yes, we can. Because you have no idea whether the enemy is there or not. It's only your obliviousness, your lack of knowledge that you are sleeping peacefully. But if you know a little bit about their destructiveness, you may not be able to sleep peacefully. So I'm not here to disturb your sleep, but what I'm saying is, you got the meaning, right? You got the meaning. And in fact, it is true. For example, if you have negative emotion like anger, very strong anger, go to bed. Can you sleep peacefully? When you're angry, it's very difficult to sleep. You keep on changing the sides, thinking about the wrongdoing done by that person, how should I retaliate? He said this nasty word to me, Nasty word? What is there in the nasty word? If somebody says you are a Buddha, you'll not become Buddha. If somebody says you are a dog, you don't have to say, wow, wow. But our stupid mind is so sensitive to, small things. And it's because of this, you suffer. So much of the suffering that you experience is not because somebody has done something wrong, but you are receiving it. You are colluding with that person. So therefore, Shantideva repeatedly says, when you do the Dharma practice, you should be like a stone. A stone, there's a big stone here, I say, you stupid stone, you ugly stone, you shameless stone, no effect, nothing. We should be like that, you see. Right? And the fourth power is power of prayer. So whatever good things that you have done in the past life, in this life, within the samsara, beyond the samsara, you should make this prayer saying that may this power of this prayer become a cause for cultivating bodhicitta in myself and in the mind of all sentient beings. So prayer is like the rein of the horse, When the rider pulls the rein of the horse, then the horse can be turned into this way. Similarly, prayer means aspirations. If you repeatedly express your aspiration, you are moving towards that direction. So therefore, prayer is also very, very important. And the fifth power is habituation. Right from the beginning until to the end of your practice, in all these situations, you need to do it repeatedly, get habituated. That is where we fail normally, get habituated. As I mentioned earlier, we are very strongly habituated with negative emotions, but not with the positive emotions. So especially when you talk about spiritual Dharma practice, you need to involve your mental consciousness, not sense consciousness, not so much. Mental consciousness. because it is the mind which goes to the next world, next life, not your senses. Right? What goes to the next life is your mind. So take this mind and then meditate. Meaning your mind is getting habituated, picking up the good habits. And that good habit earned by that mind goes to the next world. Then you have peace, happiness, even Buddhahood, things like that. And without involving that mind, you read prayer, okay, that's a good way to pass the time. Go around the temple, a good way to pass the time. But it's certainly better than nothing. But that will not become the true practice. Some of you must have heard the story that I told many times earlier. You've heard the name of the famous teacher Atisha. And one of his top student, who is actually himself is manifestation of Avalokiteshvara, Dromtomba, great scholar. When Atisha and Dromtomba met, they started exchanging some, ideas on Dharma topic. Then sometimes they go deeper, and both of them then starts performing miracles. If you read, those texts, they're so profound. Then one of them would say, "What are we doing here, stupid? What we are doing, nobody will understand. Let us go down, make Dharma easy." That's one reason I'm trying to make things easy, because what I'm doing has some source, you see. Right? Then make it simplify the teaching. Right? So therefore, this great teacher, Dromtamba, at his time in a temple there was a monk who was reading some scripture in the temple. Then this great teacher comes and says, "It is wonderful you are reading scripture, but it is better you do Dharma practice." So since Dromtamba is a great master, this monk starts thinking, "Oh, maybe this is not the right practice, so I should go around the temple." In fact, Dromtamba was also going around the temple. So he starts going around the temple. Then the great teacher says, "It's good you are circumambulating, but it is better you do Dharma practice." Right? This also looks like not Dharma practice. What should I do then? Oh, meditation, yes. He goes back to the temple and observes the needed posture and starts doing meditation. Then the teacher again comes and says, "It is good that you are doing meditation, but it's better you do Dharma practice." So he was completely confused. And then requested the teacher, "Since in all these occasions you said it is good, but better to do Dharma practice. I don't know how to do Dharma practice. Tell me how to do it." Then he said, "Make your mind go to Dharma." He said 2 lines. Make your mind go to Dharma and give up craving to this life. Very powerful statement. Make your mind go to Dharma and give up clinging to this life, craving to this life. The reason we are not able to do Dharma practice is because of the craving to the family, to the money, to the things, this and that, you're not able to do Dharma practice. Give up craving to this life. In this case, I would say reduce craving to this life, at least to start with. And make your mind go to Dharma. That means when you are really doing some Dharma practice, just focus on it. Even if you're doing it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, just focus on it. Right? Okay. So this is how you should do the practice throughout your life with these 5 powers. The same 5 powers can be applied when you are dying, when you're on your deathbed. The great vehicle's instruction on the transference of consciousness is just these 5 powers, and hence cherish them in your conduct. So that means not only you should practice this when you are alive, but when your consciousness is transferred, which means when you die, Okay, the great vehicles instruction, the teaching of the Mahayana is just these 5 powers, and hence cherish them in your conduct. So that means at the time of your death, you should also undertake these 5 practices. So the first is, out of which the first is, here in this case, the order is slightly different. He talks about planting the positive seed first, okay, and try to purify the negative deeds through 4 powers, and so that you don't have to regret when you're facing the threat of death. And so when you know you're about to die, then don't let your mind attach to your newly bought television set. Well, so many things we have. There are so many stories of people who, even at the last minute of their dying time, they are not able to move their attachment, remove the attachment to their wife, to their children, to the television set, to the golden ring. So it is said sometimes the spirit comes back and haunts the family, things like that. So therefore, in order to stop that, what you should do is, when you are sure you are going to die, and you should plant those positive seeds and purify the negative deeds, and then you should say, now I'm ready to go. There's no problem with me. And then you should give some of these properties and other things that you have to others. Do some philanthropic practices and things like that. So the point is that there should be nothing where you should be attached. Right? So there are many stories if you don't give up. And especially giving up attachment to your body. That's why we have fear. I'm dying. And you develop fear. Why? The last time when you had this earthquake, you develop fear because you have attachment to this body. And what is there with your body? Especially if you don't use it properly, what is there? There's really nothing unless you use it properly. If you use it properly, then this is called precious human life. If you misuse it, there's nothing. Only skin, flesh, blood, and nothing. Right? So, and then moreover, your your fear doesn't solve any problem. If it solves some problem, then it's okay. And in fact, it is because of this attachment to yourself that you have committed so many negative deeds. You try to earn good name, you try to collect wealth, property, and in this process you fought with somebody, created enmity with so many. Right? Then the second is the power of motivation. The process is similar. Third is power of abandoning the negative deeds. Process is similar as explained earlier. The fourth is power of prayer. And then the fifth is power of habituation. Means now in this case there's not much time. You are dying. So the conduct, behavior that you should observe is that you are sleeping, you are lying on your bed. So the physical posture should be that your head should be towards the north. Head should be towards the north, and you should lie on the right side of your body, right side. Not only at this time, normally it is said, there may be scientific truth there, and I've watched this a little bit. When you really sleep in this way, your breathing is much easier. When you sleep in my case, when you sleep on the left side, sometimes you're compelled to do, because if you can't just sleep on this the whole night because you're not so used. When you sleep on this side, sometimes you fall into sleep quickly, but then you get many nightmares. In my case, many dreams. I don't know why. In my case, it may be not necessarily with you. Many difficult. So whenever I want to get some dream, I lie on this side, right? Yeah, left side. So lie on the right side, and your right hand, the palm of your right hand should be placed under the right cheek, right? And this ring finger should be put into the block this right nostril, so that there is no flow of inhalation, exhalation is not there, because you are now going very soon, like this, right? And then the left hand should be on the left side of the thigh, and then you should breathe, inhale and exhale just from the left nostril, and then transfer to the next world. This is said to be very powerful, but you need to.
This is when you're dying?
When you're dying.
No,
not every night. No. But you can try, there's no harm. Yeah, there's no harm. So this is really said to be a very powerful practice. Okay. So now the fifth point is the measure of having trained the mind. You know, it is supposed that we are doing this practice, and then after doing a lot of practice, you should know, where you are. So he says the measure of having trained the mind. The intent of all the teachings come upon one. That means the measure of having trained the mind is if you are able to know, as I have explained to you earlier, yesterday especially. So it says the intent of all the teachings come upon one. That means the focus of all this teaching is how to banish the self-cherishing attitude and ignorance, and how to cultivate the two types of bodhicittas. If you understand that, you made good progress. That's the measure that you understood the text. The intent of all the teachings of the sutras, tantras, come upon just one, how to banish the negative emotions, self-cherishing attitude, etc., and how to cultivate. And then the next is hold, when you do this mind training practice, hold to the principle of the two witnesses. Whether you are really doing your practice properly or not, there are two witnesses. One is yourself, another is other people. Right? So out of these two witnesses, yourself is the primary witness. Other people may or may not know what you're doing, but you know what you're doing. So be faithful, that is what he's saying. Be very faithful to what you're doing. Constantly cultivate only a peaceful mind. And this is another measure of having trained the mind, that because of your having trained in the mind, even if you experience some horrible situations, difficult situations, still, if the calmness of mind is not lost, if you are able to laugh and smile and maintain sanity, that means you have trained your mind. And it is possible through training. Even politicians, not necessarily mindful practice, but because of the need, some politicians, they may be thinking all the nasty things. Still they say, hey, hello, how are you? That's called sarcastic smile, So genuine smile, sarcastic smile, there are different kind of politicians smile, so many different things are there. But here we are not talking about that. Here we are constantly cultivate only a peaceful mind. So that's why in all my talks I always tell people, okay, now you listen to me, I'm going to give you a commitment. And what is that commitment? The commitment is whatever may come in your life, whatever may come in our life, I will not lose the peace of mind. I will not let the happiness disappear. That should be your commitment. And the benefit of that is, even when you are in a very, number one, even if you are encountering a lot of difficulties, because of these difficulties, if you are not disturbed and maintain your peace of mind, you will be able to see the solutions. Because of the problems, if you get frustrated and you run here and there and shout, you will not find the solutions. Right? And that getting frustrated and angry itself is not the solution. So always cultivate. And then in fact, the thing is, whether something is good or not, it's also to some extent your perspective. In a similar situation, one person says, oh, this room is horrible, it is stuffy, that complains, he suffers. Another says, oh, this is well lighted, it's very nice, It's your attitude, right? It's the attitude. And one person out of millions of men or women picks up one and marries that person. Why? It's your attitude. He thinks, I got the best women, I got the best husband. It doesn't have to be the best one. For you, it is best, so it's enough. So it's your perspective, you see. It's your perspective. So constantly cultivate only a peaceful mind. And how can you do that? You can do that by thinking about the good things that you have. As I said the other day, I'm born as a human being, not as a cow. I'm lucky and be happy. I have both eyes intact. How many millions are there who have no eyesight? Be happy, you see. I'm not saying you should be happy at the misfortune of those people. I'm saying simply that you are not one of that. Right? So there's so many ways you can be happy. And the problem is, okay, sometimes we only highlight the problems, difficulties, and focus only on that. So even if you do some small things, so that's why practice of gratitude. You see, even if somebody had harmed you and your day was really not very peaceful or successful, you might get, frustrated and angry. But at that time, try to remember those people who did something good to you. Immediately the mind shifts, it changes, you see. This is called monkey mind, So instead of like complaining and getting frustrated, you just light the candle and put a nice glass of water and put some flowers there and make it comfortable. You'll be happy, you see. Small things can change your mind. Small things. Right? And take good care of yourself, take nice food, and make sure that you are wearing nice clean clothes. All this makes change. Even when you get up from your bed in the morning, just don't go like that. First make sure that you nicely prepare your bed. It's clean. So next time when you are tired, you come back, it's ready for you to lie down. It should not be that your blanket is there, socks is also there, everything is there. All these positive habits we need to pick up. Constantly cultivate only a peaceful mind. I'm so happy, so lucky. This is what I always, in my case also, I always say I'm so lucky. This doesn't mean I did not experience any difficulty. I experienced a lot of difficulty. We had to, run away from Tibet when I was just a small kid. And so many things there. But overall, I say I'm very lucky to be able to live most of my life while His Holiness is here. To be able to study all these Dharma texts, to be able to meet so many good friends, good people, you see. So like that, you also have the similar story. Be happy. To be happy, you don't have to have everything that the world has. Okay? The measure of, now so one word is, I think, missing. The measure of being is reversal. No, this is one word missing. The measure of being trained is reversal. The measure of your mind having trained is that now, earlier you used to develop a lot of self-grasping, self-cherishing attitude. Now reversal. Now you talk more about bodhicitta and things like that. There are 5 great marks of a trained mind. 5 great marks of a trained mind. The 5 great marks of a trained mind means, if you, by seeing the greatness of bodhicitta, if you always make it a habit to get, habituated with that practice and do it, then this is a one great mark. You're almost like a great bodhisattva. And the second mark is, if you trust the cause-effect relationship, and thereby you are very careful in terms of committing even the slightest negative deeds, then you are the great, practitioner of discipline. This is the second mark. And then, if you are able to undergo some hardship to remove these negative emotions, then you are a great, ascetic, almost like a great ascetic. The third mark. And then in terms of your physical and verbal conduct, you don't, contradict the activities of Mahayana, then you are a great trainer. The fifth is, in terms of your regular yogic practice, you continue to practice bodhicitta and the branches to that practice, then you are a great yogi in that sense. So these are the five great marks. There are 5 great marks of a trained mind. The trained mind retains control even when distracted. That means whether your mind is really trained or not is whether you are able to do it even on those days when there is distraction. And this reminded me my youth. When I was young, I tried to learn ride on a bicycle. So in the beginning, when you get a little bit distracted, you fail. And gradually, when you get trained to it, you may be looking here, the road is there, but still talking, still without any problem. So you are able to do it even when you are distracted. That means you are really, really trained in it. Okay? Sixth point, the commitment of mind training. Commitment of mind training. It's not enough that you have these measures, but you need also to make some commitment and observe these commitments. If you really want to transform and change, if you don't make the commitment, don't practice, then not much benefit. Always train in the 3 general points. 3 general point means you should not contradict the commitment in terms of your mind training practice. And you should not misapply the mind training practice. Meaning that if you say, okay, I've been doing this mind training practice, so if I sleep with the lepers, it's no problem with me. I've been doing mind training practice, so I can cut all these trees and everything. Nobody can harm me. I can pollute the water. I can pollute the forest, things like that. If you do that, then that is misuse of mind training. You should not do that. And the third is, your mind training practice should not be partial. That means it should be applied to everybody. Human beings, non-human beings, people who are rich or not rich, everybody, without any feeling of partiality. Because at the end of the day, everybody has some problem, rich or not rich, really not a big issue. Everybody has a problem. Everybody has a problem. Right? So it should not be partial, because everybody wants happiness, nobody wants suffering. So your mind training practice should not be partial. All right? Then what is the next one? The next one is, there should be forceful handling and forceful abandoning and adoption. That means in terms of your relation with human beings, it should not be forceful. It should be gentle, right? Otherwise you will annoy or anger people and the relationship may not be good. But in terms of dealing with the negative emotions, you should be tough, you should be forceful. If you say, anger, please go down, please, I don't like you, it will never go. So you need to be a little bit tough, as I said, in terms of this. To achieve success in this practice, you need to be a little tough with negative emotions. They are your enemies. Anger is your enemy, jealousy is your enemy, attachment is your enemy, obsession is your enemy. There are so many negative emotions which are your enemies. And we have been very gentle with these negative emotions for many, many lives. Still they are with us, therefore. Now you need to be tough. Now you need to say, gone are the days when you cheated me. This is how you get trapped, Gone are the days you cheated me. Now I know who you are. Get lost. Never show your face to me again. If you say that, then also appoint few guards and tell them, see who is coming, who is not coming. Anger is coming, stop. Jealousy is coming, stop. Compassion is coming, please welcome. Like that. there should be forceful handling and forceful abandoning and adoption. All right? The adoption means positive, practices also should be, there should be some kind of willpower to adopt them. Right? Destroy all reasons. Destroy all reasons. This is important because we come up with so reasons. Oh, I have to be very kind to this one because this person is my brother, my father, my sister. And I cannot be similarly nice and compassionate to this person because this is my enemy. So you come up with all kind of reasons. So destroy all these stupid reasons. Whether somebody is your enemy or friend, whoever, they are basically same, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. And even with this wish to have happiness and shun suffering, still people do many nasty things. Not because they really enjoy it, because they don't know anything better than that. It is lunacy. Like for example, if a mad person suddenly comes in and says all the nasty things, what would you do? You will forgive that person, saying, oh, uska dimag kaam nahi kar raha, his mind is not working. Yeah, his mind is not working. What about our mind? Right? Our mind also, I'm not saying you are mad in the ordinary sense, but in the deeper sense, yes, we are all mad. Right? And similarly, when an innocent child commits some mistakes, we forgive it because we know it is out of ignorance. So similarly, everybody is to a great extent ignorant, innocent. Right? When people are ignorant, when people become mad, not only they harm others, they harm themselves, they commit suicide. So this being the case, even if you are unable to develop love and compassion, how come that you develop hatred? Right? You should develop some love, some compassion, some patience, because their mind is not functioning. Even if they are on a very high pedestal called president, prime minister, but I know many whose mind is actually not functioning well. And that's very risky, Somebody who's mad and then leading the country. Very risky, right? Always train in the special cases. I mean, you need to do all these practices, but there are certain areas where you need to be very special because there is a likelihood of developing more negative emotions. For example, special means there are 5 special situations. The first is for the Buddha Dharma and Sangha, who is your object of refuge and who is your inspiration. Similarly, the abbots and the teachers from whom you received the teaching and who have been very kind. And similarly, the lamas and your parents who has been very kind to you. So to these people, even if you do a little bit wrong, it will become a big mistake. Because your parents who has been so kind to you, because of their kindness, even if you do something, even if you do a small wrong, it will become a big mistake. Because of this positive relationship. Right? So therefore, try your best not to get angry with them. Right? The second area where you need to be very careful is the people who always live with you. Those people who are living in the far corner of the world, we don't have any contact. So they will not bother you. But the problem is, it's easy to love everybody. The problem is the next door neighbor. The problem is the poor next door neighbor. The problem is your family members. So your family members, when you react and live with your family members or others, there is great likelihood of flaring out and developing negative emotions. So you should pay special attention to that. Third is, be very careful with those people, the peers, If you're a monk, then the monks of similar qualification, similar state. If you're a lay person, also people with similar fortune, similar wealth. So unfortunately, sometimes when you compare yourself with these people, you develop jealousy, competition. This really happens. For example, if there's somebody who is similar like you, and then somebody comes and praises that person, then instead of joining that person, you might say, "Oh yeah. In that sense, he may be good, but I know the other story also." This is our way of seeing things, right? So there's nobody who doesn't have any fault. So when somebody is praising the good things, you should also join and praise. Yes. Don't talk about the other thing. Maybe you get an opportunity to talk about the other thing later on. So you need to be very careful with your equals. Because sometimes even if little bit misfortune befalls on that person who is equal to you, you might express joy and happy. Right? And then fourth, you meet some people who has really done nothing to you. But somehow because of karmic connection, you may be seeing that person for the first time. You feel very uncomfortable. Right? Actually, you have done nothing to them, they have done nothing to you. But you feel uncomfortable with this person. Bad vibe bolte hain hum log, bad vibe, bad vibration. Somehow it really happens. And some people, again, you're meeting for the first time, then probably you call that good vibe, whatever. You feel like talking to these people, you see. So there also you need to be very careful because that person has actually done nothing to you. It's your karma or how you see things, whatever. So if you develop this hatred, then this will destroy your compassion. Fifth, again very similar to the fourth one, there are people who about which you can't say anything that they have done anything to you, but just by hearing their name or just by seeing that person, you develop this disliking. So you should especially focus on these people and make sure anger does not arise, hatred does not arise. Instead, develop loving kindness. So in order to be able to treat everybody equally, without partiality, right, what you need to do is that you should not wait for some other conditions. Just see all of them as equal in wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. Okay? Then train your attitude, transform your attitude, but maintain your natural behavior. This is also very important in the mind training practice. Sometimes people, if you, for example, if you practice the Tibetan method of mind training the mind, you might try to change the furnitures in your room in the Tibetan style. You might also try to adopt some of the Tibetan costumes, I mean, you have a right to do that, but actually that is not needed. The most important thing is not changing the style or the cloth, but changing your attitude. ऐसा नहीं करना कि I went to this mind training practice in Dharamsala, I am completely transformed. So that's what he's saying. Transform your attitude, but maintain your natural behavior. Otherwise, people say, "Isko kya ho gaya?" I've seen, with due respect, I've seen some foreigners who come to Dharamsala, then become monk. Then actually the instruction says that they should do like this. So in the first few days, they are very careful. They would not gaze like that. They'll just go down and walk like this. Then after a while, nothing. Don't speak of okay. Okay, maybe some questions. So tomorrow I will just gallop. We have done quite well. Yeah, some questions.
Venerable,
What is? Yes.
you mentioned we have to maintain a particular posture when one is dying.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, if it's somebody who's very ill
Yeah.
and the person is not so
Yeah.
conscious, in that case, what should that person?
Yes. That's why this is a very good question. That's why we say the best preparation is not when you're on the deathbed, much before. If you're somebody who has been doing this practice much before, then at the time of the death it comes automatically.
But somebody could be, say, under the effects of some medication also.
Yeah. So no problem. Still your very subtle mind will be in the practice if you're habituated. But so therefore there is no push button enlightenment.
Okay. I have a second question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that one should be peaceful at all times.
Yes.
And in all situations.
Hmm.
But like you said, if someone is living under the same roof, say you are basically peaceful, but the other person is very restless, very hyper, has, say, anxiety issues.
That depends upon who that person is. If that person is a small child,
No.
maro usko.
No. No. Even the small child, I think the inherent nature won't change.
I'm joking.
Yeah, even his nature.
So therefore, even if he is restless, why should you become restless? That's what I'm saying.
But sometimes, one notices that if you're sitting peacefully, you're doing something, they try to disrupt or distract.
So long as we live in the samsara, so long as we live a family life,
Yeah.
you've already accepted all these possibilities. They will be there. You have to bear with them. Take the maximum out of the situation. That is what the text is saying. You can't just right away become peaceful, not like that.
So it's a
because this reminded me of a very, very great teacher, Dema Lochu Rinpoche, who passed away some years back. So, after coming from Tibet, some teachers like him had to stay in Calcutta. It's also a very busy city. And he said, for me, it's a perfect place for practice. Because I need to just go to my room and log it and stay there. Nobody comes to bother. So meaning that it is also to some extent how you live.
But I feel that is not the test. If you lock yourself in a room, then that's not the challenge. That's not the test.
No. What I'm saying is, I spoke about recharging the battery, meditative session. Yes. So in meditative session, nobody disturbs. So because of that, he's able to build his inner resources. And with these inner resources, if you have to mix with the people, you will be much better. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, I have one query. You have told that we should, on the deathbed, we should take a specific posture. While on the deathbed, we have a specific posture.
Yeah.
I am unable to understand what will the advantage while taking this specific posture. We don't know what will happen after death. We don't know.
Advantage is you will be able to transfer your consciousness peacefully because of the physical posture. Yeah. Because when you die, if you die with great disturbance, it will create a turbulent journey, you see. So that's the reason, yeah.
So it's a continuous process of trying to train your mind.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
are you always successful, or
No.
No?
No. If you're always successful, if you're always able to practice, then I would not be here. My being with you is in a kind of saying we are sailing in the same boat.
So how do you continue? I mean,
Huh?
you go up, then you go down the
This
ladder.
is like
What keeps you going?
what keeps you going, because I see the benefit of it. I see the need to give this spiritual food to the mind. There's no other way to maintain your sanity, right? Just like eating food 3 times every day, as I mentioned earlier. So in order to keep the sanity, in order to develop peace and happiness, you need to do it regularly, even if it is not in a great intensity. In all likelihood, it's important to do it regularly, intensively, but somehow you're not able to do it. That doesn't mean that you should not do it every day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever is possible to it. Then you will see the benefit. You will see the change. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about when you have a karmic connection that kind of activates your spidey sense about somebody, or when you see someone's face that you don't know, you automatically have a sense about them, you know something. I understand you're not supposed to treat them meanly or just automatically respond to that, but there has to be a reason for you to have that karmic sort of tick, the thing that works on your brain and says, oh, there's something here. What is the point of having that karmic connection that you recognize without doing
It's
anything?
not a question of, whether there's a meaning to that or not. It is the way it is. It is the way it is. You like some people, you don't like some people. It's the way it is. So it may be the karmic connection. It may be your physical state, including your brain waves or whatever. You see, the receptivity. So in that situation, in all the situations, what is important is, whatever be the case, I especially somebody who has studied Dharma, you should think, okay, this may be the case, but I should not react immediately, especially develop negative emotions. That's the case. I mean, you cannot, you are walking on the street, you meet somebody who really like you, feel some affinity. You can't just say, hi, and hug, Then you get a slap, you see. So there you need to maintain some, restraint. Similarly, if you see somebody who you don't like, you can't, fight with that person. So the important point is, in all these situations, you should be able to do practice. That is the point. Yeah.
I wanted to ask that in the process of training the mind,
Yeah.
so there are these like larger forces in place, like bigger, like the way you said that everybody is out there for seeking happiness, and then but they suffer regardless.
Yes.
But then of course some suffer more,
Yes.
and some suffer less.
Yes.
And because of major like other systemic things in place and bigger powers, or so then does then training your mind become like a activity, like a process in isolation, or a singular activity, or how then you make it a larger sort of collective consciousness where
Here is one thing. One is, as I mentioned earlier, much of the upheavals, sufferings, problems that you are getting is your own doing. Maybe past life's karmic imprint, but this life's your reaction, your doing. So if through mind training, if you change your attitude a little bit, many of these problems will disappear like that.
but I'm also asking in terms of the things happening in the world. Like
Yeah.
there are people who suffer, like communities who suffer.
Yes.
And you see them, but if you think, okay, they are suffering because of certain
Yes.
acts of theirs, but
yes.
also other people's actions onto them.
Yes.
So in that sense, like how much there are larger forces in place also.
So now here is very, very simple in a way. as we read, overflowing with suffering, problems. That is there everywhere. That's there. That's a fact. Now the question is how to deal with that. The way to deal with is education, actually. Awareness. Now through education, through awareness of just one person, you can't change everything overnight. As I mentioned earlier, even Buddha could not do that. So the karma of each and every individual is very powerful. But that doesn't mean you cannot change. Because the so-called, the world, the big one, the world, is nothing but a combination of individuals. While it is not easy, but it's only by changing the individuals you can change the whole thing. And it will take time. It will take time. Right? So therefore, my advice is think globally, act locally. If you simply worry about all those problems and do nothing, it's of no use. It's self-torture. But at least there are things you can do here. Plant some seed, That's the way. Then you feel satisfied. Yes. That's why now there are so many ways of doing it. For example, if one of your very close relatives die, what do we do normally? We weep and cry, useless. Kuch fayda nahi hai. Instead, you do something to remember that person. If you are rich enough, sponsor a child, take care of an orphan, or plant a big tree and see this tree as your relative, which will for many, lives, or at least many years, give shadow and fruit to many others. I mean, there are people who do these things. So there are many ways of doing this. Then on a bigger level, you see, according to Buddhist teaching, all sentient beings are your brothers, sisters, relatives. If you are to cry with the death of your relatives, you should cry every second. You just take out your mobile phone and see how many people are dying. I've done that. People are dying like this. Dying. Birth also. So cry. Like that. So it really doesn't make sense. So when you develop this realistic, larger perspective, many things change. Obsession comes down, grasping comes down, craving comes down, openness comes up, And then you're able to see everybody, your brother, sister, You are not dependent on just one person, even in terms of your own well-being. There's so many people, so many good people are there, right? So helping each other, yeah. Also, any?
So the thing that I understood in last 4 days is that it's actually not the pain that is the suffering. So if I have a pain in my hand, that is not suffering. It is the mental unrest.
To a great extent, yes.
Because of the pain.
Exactly.
Which is actually the suffering.
To a great extent, yes.
And so what we are trying to do is to train our mind to accept the pain.
Exactly. Lessen the pain, yes.
So that our anxiety...
Yes, but this does not mean to say that when you are physically hurt, there is no pain in the hand. There is a pain. But the intensity of the pain, how much pain, is very much dependent upon how you see things. This is really, now scientifically they proved it. Same people, let us say 2 people, suffering from same migraine headache with same intensity. Okay, this is a really nice one. 2 people, let us say 2 people suffering from same migraine headache of same intensity. In terms of physical illness, same. But in terms of mental attitude, they are different. And then scientifically now they say you observe big difference between how they encounter that illness. For example, the one person, he has good mental attitude, and if he is a Buddhist, he will say, oh, this is opportunity to purify my negative deeds. Oh, it is not just me. There are many, many who are suffering much more than me. And then also he uses his brain by saying, why I am getting this headache? Maybe I had less sleep last night. Maybe I'm hungry. The headache comes due to many reasons. Maybe I need to go to hospital. So if there's a need for him to sleep, he will sleep. There's need to eat, he will eat. There's need to go to hospital, he'll go to hospital. When his friends come, laughing, smiling, he will not get angry. Although he's having this excruciating headache, but he will not get angry. He will try to explain, I'm having this, very, very bad headache, right? My head is bleeding, something. Then the friends will also say, oh, I'm so sorry. We'll cook food for you. I'll come with you to the hospital, And he tries his best to remain cheerful. And it is because of that, it is said that the headache is cured much faster and quicker. And then similar headache experienced by another person who has a negative attitude. If he's a Buddhist, he says, why of all the people I get headache? Where is Buddha's compassion? If he is a Christian, he would say, this must be created by the Creator. Then when his friends come to see him smiling, laughing, he would say, how dare you laugh and smile when my head is splitting? Get lost. Then he will close the window, switch off the light. What does he see? Only darkness. Refuse to eat, refuse to go to hospital. His headache becomes worse. This is medically proved. You see, so your mental attitude makes huge difference.
Good evening, sir. First of all, I want to thank you for such a beautiful, lecture. It is really the need of the heart, that we need such a training for the mind because of the restlessness, because of the environment, because of the things going on in our, outside world. So I don't have any question right now because most of the questions I have in mind, I got the answer from your lecture. I just want to make a comment that we can start such teachings and practices maybe at the very beginning, from the family when a child is born, and when go to school. So such mind training, I think, will be very, very helpful,
Exactly.
not only for the society at the small level, but at the global level.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. This is because of this, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is saying that education is the key thing. Now, in terms of teaching empathy, emotional regulation, things like that, you can't teach it from a Buddhist text in many schools because they may follow different religions, traditions. So use secular ethics, sea learning, which has nothing to do with the religion, which is common sense, which is scientifically experimented. So those things. So many of these teachings also universal, right? So those are the need of the hour. But otherwise, in today, in the universities and schools, what is really taught is how to make money, not how to become a good human being, right?
Thank you so much, Geshe La, for today's session. Thank you, everybody, for coming here. Tomorrow will be our last session, and we will have a group photo with Geshe La after the teaching. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.